Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one for you today. Going to discuss some news. It's not too fun to talk about it. It might be a huge correction in the stock market coming, and it could be as early as next month. I think that bodes well for crypto and the people that are going into crypto, but we have to remember there's also a lot of money missing from the market. We're also going to talk about the fact that the SEC versus Ripple, this case could end sooner than we think, and it could end with different outcomes than we think. Let's go ahead and roll the beautiful intro and check it out. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at BackUpBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. The money continues to bleed out of the market, 1.6 trillion plus, but just barely. And I'm telling you, it is the whole market that is bleeding out heavily at this point. XRP at 88 cents right now. We're going to take a look at that. We're off by more than 41% on the 7-day, 15+% of that in the 24-hour. Bitcoin down to 37%. They're off by 24+% in the 7-day. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ranging right now on XRP. Ranging as low as 84 cents and up to $1.05. We're at 88 cents right now. Remember the support and resistance from Dark Defender, CoinsKid, and so many others out there. We could see the 80-cent range touched again. We could see the low 70-cent range touched again, or the mid 60-cent range touched again. You know, all of these places are just rollbacks where we're seeing, sell off and money leaving the market. But the reality is that the targets of $2.72, $13, $27 that we've heard from people, the experts out here like Dark Defender and CoinsKid, are all still within reach. That's all we're talking about right now. Not financial advice from them or me, but let's go ahead and get into this. I want to show you this because this is really near and dear to my heart. And shout out to Shane Nixon who shared this with me. And they're introducing iSand Spin and Sprint Challenge. And I just love this because I have a grandson who's on the spectrum and he is autistic. And I believe Shane has a son that is as well. And shout out to Liam for the cats and clocks videos that he makes because they are remarkable. And this is a way that you can donate to the campaign, challenge others, create awareness for autism, and just have a little fun in the process here. iSand is introducing the Spin and Sprint Challenge. You spin 7 times, sprint 20 feet, donate, nominate. And that is wonderful. And I'm going to do that myself with my family members and friends, and we're going to do that on my phone and send something out. But I wanted to share this here to see how many people we could touch for Shane, his son, and my grandson, and so many others that are affected by autism. So shout out to you, Shane. It is always a pleasure, and I hope that we get to sit and have lunch one day and maple syrup on some pancakes, brother. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is Michael Val 5 Links Hall of Famer here. It says MoneyGram International was informed by blockchain payment firm Ripple that they had sold all their common stock and warrants to purchase MoneyGram common stock. It is gone, so it looks like it's all gone. And then we knew that this was going to happen. This is a part of dissolving the relationship that they had with MoneyGram. We'll see where this goes in the future. I think this was really all just kicked off. A catalyst was the SEC lawsuit. MoneyGram could not afford to be associated with Ripple because of the lawsuit, so they separated ways. Now, this is Harry Dent. Harry Dent actually is a big-time investor and uses charts and all of this business to look at what's going on. And he told us some months ago, and we covered it here on the channel. And this is Stansberry Research, which is Daniela Cambone, who is phenomenal. Her channel is incredible about economic news, investing and trading and the whole bit, cryptocurrency, conventional market. She's got it covered. And he's going to tell you here in the first minute or so that it is still on the table to see a correction in the conventional stock market. And it is not going to be good if we get what he's talking about. Listen to this.
Our last video was a home run, and I just want to start because I need to just let you clear the air on a few things. It was a very popular video. You were speaking about a 40% correction in the stock market by April. I've now seen you've shifted that timeline to June. So before we really get into the nitty gritty here, Harry, I want to give you the platform and the opportunity to explain why the change in timeline now.
Okay, I mean, we're at a point. The truth is, by my most fundamental cycles, which are really, really good long term, it took me 20 years to really put them together correctly and the hierarchy and everything. We should have peaked back around COVID, okay? But COVID hit, and we had it gave governments our gargantuan open to just open the spigots 100%. I mean, we've never seen. I've counted now fiscal and monetary since just before COVID and the repo crisis, and since year and a half, 55% of GDP, about to maybe go to 65%. Now, this is the biggest stimulus in the whole Great Depression was 6% of GDP, okay, at the bottom.
Did you hear what he just said? The printing of money that went on in the Great Depression was just 6% of the GDP. And we're in a position today to go from 55% to 65%. I don't think it needs any other discussion. There's trouble coming. There's going to be a pay-to-piper moment here. And listen, not financial advice, but if you understand what all has taken place during this pandemic and the liquidity crisis that existed before the pandemic was here, then you couple in this. Now let's come back over to the cryptocurrency side of the fence. People are going to be running if this crash happens in the stock market. What are they going to be looking for? They're going to be looking for high ground. One of those places they may find high ground would be linked to private equity in companies. That's right. That's why I tell you about Link2. Go check out Link2. They're amazing. Link2.com. Link in the description. One of the other places other than private equity and fintech and blockchain companies is cryptocurrency itself. And here you're going to hear this lady tell you that while regulators are looking at this market, understanding that central banks want to have their digital dollars tied to the on and off ramps of this new digital asset class, and they will, believe me, they will. The reality is people are going to be looking for a much greener Bitcoin because the narrative has been exposed about proof of work. It doesn't work. Listen to what she says.
Environmental reasons. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who's been in this space. We at the Financial Times have written a lot about this. And in fact, one of our top performing stories this week was a deep dive into the environmental implications of Bitcoin. There's a lot of activity right now in the fintech world and in environmental groups trying to see if they can find a green Bitcoin, which doesn't consume quite so much energy, or rather a green cryptocurrency that isn't Bitcoin, because probably the answer is going to lie in something other than Bitcoin. But again, as people are saying, well, I can see down the tracks, there could be an investor revolt against dirty Bitcoin and people flooding to other newer currencies, which are less environmentally damaging. That's creating volatility too.
It is creating volatility too. And shout out to this woman, Gillian Tett from the Financial Times editorial board. Here's my point here for what we're talking about right now is that right now I told you we're 1.6. We've been as high as 2.5 trillion plus. So that's old money that's been in this market that is now gone. Almost $1 trillion missing today from this market. That's why I consider this moment buying a dip. I did it yesterday. If it goes down anymore, I'm probably going to do it again. And that's why I do that. I'm not telling you to do anything. It's not financial advice, but that's what I'm doing. And I see where the money that was in this market is gone temporarily, let alone the idea of what Harry Dent's talking about, a 40% correction in the stock market. What do you think's going to happen to that money that's been locked there for decades? It's going to be looking for a safe haven. And again, I think that's where crypto can come into play, as well as like private equity, like Link2 and things that I just talked about. And that's where you get the comments that she's made. And then you couple that with the narrative that Bitcoin as it stands now, and it doesn't mean it can't change. I believe you could have an F asset of Bitcoin be on the Flare networks and be represented there through a complement of Trustline and Flare networks. Or you could see it directly on the XRP ledger because Chris Larson told us back in 2014 they were able to put Bitcoin on the XRP ledger. Go ask him. So there is something going on with this market. And if it all timely enough falls into place, you're going to see people look for a different choice than Bitcoin, possibly because of the proof of work issue, if it's not solved by the time we see a correction in the stock market and people are fleeing with money. Not only will you see the 2.5 trillion come back in, that extra trillion almost come back into the market, you're going to see a flood of new money like you've never seen. And then what do we got to worry about then? Well, we got to worry about regulation. And that's where the crypto crash recently here has legislators considering new regulation for protecting consumers. Well, that would be nice because right now, currently, the SEC is supposed to be doing that job. And this erroneous lawsuit that's gone on here against Ripple is really put investors in harm's way because of the SEC's actions. Now, moving on here, we see, and we're about to talk about the case in just 1 second, U.S. Treasury unveils Biden's proposed tax measures, which is cryptocurrency transfers over $10,000 to be reported to the IRS. Fair enough, right? Got to pay your taxes. So here we go. We're looking at DJ Peter Vass now. And shout out to Bond Crypt for that piece a minute ago. SEC chairman highlights importance of being ready for crypto. And it really is. And listen, and I think if anything, it's like I said this yesterday too with Gary Gensler. And I think Gary Gensler is a brilliant mind. But the reality here is like, Gary, let's be a little less concerned about sending the narrative to other agencies. And why don't we just show by leading from the front, right? Why don't you just come out and show us exactly how the SEC is going to handle this, because it's been a mess up till now, right? So let's get some unified effort happening, which I feel we may get, right? And shout out to Gary Gensler. No offense to him. Mountain of respect for the guy. All right, now here we go. SEC versus Ripple. This is from DJ Peter Vass, who's a Hall of Famer. Could end with summary judgment. Listen to this. This article was pretty powerful, I thought. Could end with summary judgment on fair notice. No one could be sued after that. Check this article out. It's really quite compelling the way it's laid out here. This is even before the close of discovery, and it's faster than I expected, and it makes me think they might set the hearing on their defense before even the hearing on whether XRP is a security or not. The SEC versus Ripple case on Friday had a hearing on SEC's motion to pierce the attorney-client privilege of Ripple and its lawyers. The regulator wants Ripple Labs to turn over documents related to legal advice it received in 2012 prior to the sale of its token, XRP, whether the firm was legally required to be registered as or with the SEC. While Ripple Labs fights off the request arguing attorney-client privilege, the SEC claims that legal advice could be proof that the firm reasonably understood that the nature of XRP, if not subject to federal securities laws, then the company waived any privilege over those communications. I can tell you for sure that Jorge Tenreiro is not a person who embarrasses very easily. He even went on to suggest that even though that Ripple had the legal advice from their attorneys, they should have known to take the attorney's advice, even though there was confusion from the SEC at the time. And that was no excuse that the SEC was confused because their own lawyers told them they should register with the SEC. I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what he went on about. SEC Attorney Tenreiro said Ripple's lawyers knew that the law required it could be a security. Their lawyers knew from the very beginning, and now to come and say to court nobody knew and leave us unable to rebut that by showing all of the advice that they got, not just what they selectively disclosed to third parties, is fundamentally unfair or fundamentally against the fairness principle as recognized in this circuit. It was in late April that the SEC filed the motion to dismiss Ripple's lack of due process and fair notice defense that the XRP token could be deemed a security. Ripple then filed its memorandum of law in opposition of the SEC's motion to strike Ripple's lack of due process and fair notice affirmative defense. The defendant pointed to SEC's misrepresentation of the judge and omissions. But listen, during the hearing, it seems the SEC, Jorge Tenreiro, said that Ripple Labs wants to push for a summary judgment on its lack of due process and fair notice affirmative defense. Well, that's a signal right there. Attorney Jeremy Hogan reported that moment and suspects that Ripple Labs that moment and suspects that Ripple Labs wants the hearing to happen even before the hearing regarding the nature of XRP, which could end the trial without the regulatory clarity, but with a precedent that would allow any further defendant in a similar lawsuit to claim they had no fair notice from the SEC. The SEC attorney let out that Ripple attorneys told him that Ripple intended to file for summary judgment on its fair notice defense in August, Hogan said. This is before even the close of discovery, and it's faster than I expected and makes me think that they might set the hearing on their defense before even hearing whether XRP is a security or not. A Ripple victory at that hearing would, of course, end the whole case. Would XRP have clarity then? Yes and no. XRP status would not, but no one could be sued after that by the SEC because there would be a case precedent that no one had fair notice anyways, he concluded. This is really, really remarkable. And, it leans in heavily for me that I believe the U.S. Treasury comes in and really deems something like XRP, convertible virtual currency, money, but not money to the extent that it could challenge the US dollar or other major dollars, government money of the world, but currency in the sense that it could affect and operate the way it needs to at its full scale intended use. This is getting very exciting, and they're pointing to a August timeframe that this could actually take place, which is not very far away from now. So, all right, that's going to do it for me. That's getting us caught up here for the weekend. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. Make sure you check out I Trust Capital. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the best crypto, gold, silver IRA on the planet, bar none. Make sure you reach out to them. They are offering specials all the time. Just not long ago, they had like a 7-month for free special. If that's still going, you may want to be involved in it. I'll catch all of you on the next one.